I should have known something was wrong the moment my brother asked me to arrive early to his engagement party. Just keep a low profile tonight, okay? Marcus said over the phone, his voice tight with something I couldn't quite place. Chelsea's family is really important. Her dad knows people. I need this to go perfectly. I told him I'd be there. I didn't tell him I'd already paid for the venue. The Ashford Grand was one of those places that looked like it had been designed to make you feel inadequate. All marble and gold fixtures, with staff who moved like synchronized swimmers through crowds of people who believed their reservations meant something. I'd acquired the property 18 months ago through Meridian Holdings, one of 3 investment firms I'd quietly built over the past decade, while everyone assumed I was still figuring out my life. I arrived in a simple black dress. No jewelry except the watch my late grandmother left me. My mother intercepted me at the coat check. "Oh good, you're here." She smoothed down my collar like I was 12. "Try to mingle with people your own age, sweetheart. Chelsea's cousin manages a boutique. Maybe she could help you find something in retail." I smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." The ballroom was already half full. Chelsea's family had apparently invited everyone they'd ever made eye contact with. I recognized the type immediately. Established money that needed everyone to know it was established. The kind of people who say summering as a verb. I found Marcus near the champagne fountain, looking uncomfortable in a suit that probably cost more than my first car. Chelsea stood beside him in cream silk, her hand possessive on his arm. "There she is." Chelsea's voice carried across 3 conversations. "Marcus's sister. We were just talking about you." The circle of women around her turned to look at me like I'd tracked mud across white carpet. "I was telling everyone how brave you are," Chelsea continued, her smile sharp as glass. "Still trying to find your footing at your age. What is it you do again?" Marcus mentioned something about consulting. The way she said consulting made it sound like a communicable disease. "I advise companies on acquisitions," I said simply. "Oh, how nice. Like a temp agency." One of her friends, a blonde with the kind of thin lips that suggested permanent disapproval, laughed into her champagne. "Chelsea works in pharmaceuticals. Executive level. Her father's company just got FDA approval for their new cardiac medication. Real money, you know." I knew. I also knew that Pharmaline Solutions had been operating on extended credit for the past 8 months, and that Chelsea's father had personally approved a benefits reduction that cut healthcare coverage for 200 warehouse employees. I'd been reviewing their financials as part of a potential acquisition. The numbers were uglier than Chelsea's personality. "That's impressive," I said. Chelsea's mother materialized beside us, her presence announced by perfume that probably cost more than my monthly rent, or what they assumed was my monthly rent. "You must be so proud of your brother," she said, managing to make it sound like I had nothing else to be proud of. "Marrying into a family with real standing. Chelsea could have chosen anyone, you understand. We have standards." "I can see that," I replied. The evening deteriorated from there. During dinner, I was seated at a table near the kitchen doors with Marcus's former roommate, a cousin who just finished rehab, and Chelsea's elderly aunt who was mostly deaf. The message was clear. I was the obligation invite, the family embarrassment to be tucked away. I watched Chelsea hold court at the main table, her hand perpetually on Marcus's knee, her laugh calculated to carry. My brother looked happy. Or maybe he just looked like someone who'd convinced himself he was happy. Halfway through the entree, Chelsea's father stood to make a speech. "My daughter," he began, voice booming with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no, "has always had impeccable judgment. When she told me she'd found the perfect man, I'll admit I was skeptical. But Marcus has proven himself to be exactly the kind of ambitious, forward-thinking young man we want in this family." I saw Marcus sit a little straighter. "He's joining Pharmaline's executive training program next month," Mr. Vandermeer continued. "A position usually reserved for Harvard MBAs, but we make exceptions for family." The room applauded. I set down my fork. That's when I noticed the folder on Chelsea's mother's lap. She was showing it to another woman, both of them glancing my direction periodically. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I caught fragments. "Never finished her degree. Marcus is too kind to cut her off. Embarrassing for the family." Something cold settled in my chest. After dinner, I excused myself to the bathroom. On the way back, I heard voices from the private lounge off the main hallroom, the one reserved for VIP guests. The door was cracked. "I just think it's trashy," Chelsea was saying. "Having someone like that at our engagement party." She showed up in something she probably got from a department store. "Darling, she's his sister." That was Mrs. Vandermeer, though she didn't sound particularly sympathetic. "She's a liability. Did you see the way the Hendersons looked at her? They probably think the whole family is like that. Poor, unconnected, common. Once you're married, you can distance Marcus from her gradually. These things take time. I've already told him she's not in the wedding party. I'm not having someone who looks like she shops at discount stores in my photos. I stood very still in the hallway, and the brother mentioned she might need financial help soon. Chelsea continued. Absolutely not. We're not becoming her welfare system. Marcus needs to understand that his priorities are different now. I walked back to my table, pulled out my phone, and sent 3 text messages. 20 minutes later, I was back in the ballroom when the venue manager approached Mr. Vandermeer. I watched from my table as confusion spread across his face, then irritation, then something approaching panic. He pulled Chelsea and Mrs. Vandermeer aside. The conversation grew heated. Chelsea's face went from pink to red to white. Marcus appeared at my table looking worried. Hey, there's some kind of problem with the venue payment. They're saying Dad's card was declined. That's strange, I said. Chelsea's dad looks really upset. He's saying something about the company that owns this place demanding payment up front. Some policy change. I sipped my water. Venues do have policies. The manager was now speaking with the catering director. Waitstaff had stopped circulating. A few guests were beginning to notice something was wrong. Chelsea marched across the ballroom toward us, Marcus following. This is unacceptable, she hissed at me, as if I'd somehow caused this. This is supposed to be a perfect evening, and now we have some corporate nobody making demands. Excuse me. A woman in a charcoal suit had appeared beside us. I recognized her as the regional director I'd hired 6 months ago. I'm looking for Ms. Sarah Adkins. That's me, I said. Every head at the nearby tables turned. Ms. Adkins, I apologize for interrupting your evening. There's been some confusion regarding the event contract. Mr. Vandermeer's company is insisting they were promised a corporate discount, but our records show no such agreement was authorized. Since you're here, I wanted to confirm directly, should I extend the Farmeline account the courtesy rate? The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Chelsea's face had gone blank. I'm sorry, what? Ms. Adkins owns Meridian Holdings, the director explained, as if this were common knowledge. Meridian owns Ashford Grand Properties. I report directly to her. Marcus looked at me like I'd just materialized from another dimension. Sarah, there must be some mistake, Mrs. Vandermeer said, but her voice had lost its certainty. No mistake, the director said pleasantly. She handed me a tablet. Ms. Adkins, the original quote was for $45,000. Mr. Vandermeer is now claiming he was promised half that due to a business relationship. Should I? The original price is fine, I said quietly, but I think there's been a misunderstanding about business relationships. I looked at Chelsea, then her father. Meridian Holdings is currently in final negotiations to acquire controlling interest in Farmeline Solutions. The deal was supposed to close next week. Mr. Vandermeer's face had gone the color of old newspaper. Was supposed to? Marcus asked. I stood up, smoothing my department store dress. The acquisition was contingent on certain ethical standards being met. I've spent the last 6 months reviewing Farmeline's operations. The benefits cuts, the safety violations, the accounting irregularities, those were already problematic. But I like to know who I'm doing business with. I turned to Chelsea. I don't invest in companies run by people who treat workers like disposable assets. And I don't invest in families who measure human worth by bank statements and dinner invitations. The ballroom had gone completely silent. Even the kitchen noise had stopped. You can't, Mr. Vandermeer started. The withdrawal papers were filed this afternoon, I said. Your stock price will reflect it by Monday morning. Without Meridian's capital injection, I believe you have approximately 90 days before your creditors come calling. That FDA approval is expensive to maintain. Mrs. Vandermeer had actually sat down, looking faint. As for the venue, I continued, consider tonight complimentary. Call it a gift to my brother. Marcus, I hope you're very happy. I mean that. I looked at Chelsea, who seemed to have forgotten how to close her mouth. The discount boutique dress was Alexander McQueen, by the way. I just don't like labels on the outside. I picked up my purse and walked toward the exit. Marcus caught up with me in the lobby. Sarah, wait. Please. I stopped. Why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked. About any of it. The company, the money, the why did you let us think? Think what? That I was unsuccessful? That I needed your pity? I turned to face him. You never asked, Marcus. Not once in 10 years did you ask what I actually did for a living. You just assumed I was struggling because I didn't broadcast my success on social media or buy a luxury car. That's not fair. You were going to let them exclude me from your wedding. Your fiancé called me a liability to your future. His eyes were wet. I didn't know she said that. But you knew something, didn't you? You knew they looked down on me. You just thought they had good reason to. He stood there and I watched him realize it was true. I built something from nothing, I said quietly. I worked 100-hour weeks and learned everything I could and made investments that everyone said were too risky. I did it without family money or connections or anyone's approval. And the only thing that mattered was for my family to be proud of me without needing to see a bank statement first. I am proud of you, Marcus whispered. Are you? Or are you just impressed now that you know I'm rich? He didn't have an answer for that. Behind him, through the ballroom doors, I could see Chelsea's family in a tight huddle, their perfect evening decomposing in real time. Chelsea herself was on her phone, probably calling her father's attorneys. Too late, of course. The paperwork was already filed, and Meridian's lawyers were considerably better than anything Farmeline could afford once their credit dried up. I'm going to go, I said. But Marcus, you should think very carefully about what you value in people, and what you want the person you marry to value. I made it to my car before the tears came. By Monday morning, the business news sites had picked up the story. Meridian Holdings withdraws from Farmeline acquisition, citing ethical concerns. By Tuesday, Farmeline stock had dropped 38%. By Wednesday, Mr. Vandermeer had stepped down as CEO. Marcus called 17 times. I didn't answer. My mother showed up at my apartment that Saturday. I owe you an apology, she said, standing in my doorway. Several, actually. Decades worth. I let her in. We sat in my living room, the one in the penthouse condo she'd never visited, and she cried. I thought I was protecting you by keeping expectations low. After your father left, money was so tight, and I didn't want you to be disappointed by wanting things we couldn't have. I didn't realize I was teaching you to hide who you were. You taught me to be grateful for being underestimated, I said. That turned out to be useful. Sarah, I know, Mom. She looked around the apartment, taking in what her daughter had built while she wasn't paying attention. Marcus broke off the engagement. I hadn't expected that. When? Thursday. He said he couldn't marry someone who treated his sister like Chelsea did. Chelsea's threatening to sue him for emotional distress. She laughed, slightly hysterical. Can you imagine? I could, actually. Chelsea struck me as someone who sued people the way others send holiday cards. He wants to talk to you, Mom continued. He's been staying with me. He's a mess, Sarah. But I think maybe he needed this to wake up. 3 weeks later, Marcus and I met for coffee. He looked terrible thinner, with circles under his eyes that suggested sleep had become theoretical. But when he looked at me, it was different. He was actually seeing me. I spent the last month thinking about what you said, he began. About not asking. About assuming. You were right. I treated you like a box to check. Sister? Check. Invite her to things? Check. Feel vaguely guilty she didn't have what I had? Check. Marcus, let me finish. He took a breath. I was ashamed of you. Not because of anything you did, but because I was so focused on impressing people like the Vandermeers that I started seeing you through their eyes. Poor Sarah. Never quite got her life together. Poor Sarah, we should feel sorry for her. You did try to help, I said quietly. I tried to fix you. That's not the same as respecting you. He looked at his coffee. Chelsea told me I had to choose. Her or you. And for about 5 minutes, I actually considered choosing her. My own sister. What changed your mind? I remembered when you were 16 and Dad left. I was 20, about to start college. You gave me $2,000. You said it was from babysitting, but I found out later you'd been working 3 jobs and saved for a year. You made sure I could go to school. I'd forgotten about that. You've been taking care of people your whole life, Marcus said. And I never even said thank you. I just assumed you'd always be there. Always be less than me. Always need me more than I needed you. I didn't need you, I said. Just not in the way you thought. We talked until the coffee shop closed. It didn't fix everything. Some things don't get fixed with a single conversation. But it was a start. 6 months later, Marcus started his own consulting firm. No family connections, no corporate training program, just him and a business plan and a loan he took out himself. I didn't invest. He didn't ask me to. That felt right. My mother and I have dinner every Sunday now. She asks about my work, actually listens to the answers. Sometimes she brings articles she's cut out from business magazines, pieces about female entrepreneurs or acquisition strategies, and she tells me they made her think of me. It's small, but it's real. As for Chelsea, I heard she married a lawyer she met at the firm handling her father's bankruptcy proceedings. Mr. Vandermeer is consulting now, the real kind, not the dismissive kind Chelsea used to describe my work. I imagine that's taught him something about humility, though I doubt it. I still own the Ashford Grand. I go there sometimes for coffee in the lobby, watching people arrive for their perfect events, their important celebrations, their moments that matter. They don't know I own the building. They don't need to. Last week, a young woman in a department store dress walked through the lobby, looking uncertain and out of place. I watched her disappear into the ballroom where someone's engagement party was being held. I thought about saying something to her, some warning about people who measure worth in designer labels and social connections. But I didn't. Some things you have to learn on your own. Besides, maybe she's exactly where she needs to be. Maybe she's the one who owns everything. They'll find out eventually. They always do. And when they do, I hope she's wearing the same quiet smile I wore that night, the one that says, "You should have asked before you assumed." Because the thing about being underestimated is this: it gives you all the power in the room, and nobody knows until you choose to use it. I choose carefully now. I choose with purpose. And I never, ever forget what it felt like to be dismissed. That's what keeps me sharp. That's what keeps me kind. And that's what ensures I'll never become the kind of person who measures human worth by the price of someone's dress or the size of their bank account. Because I learned something that night at the Ashford Grand, standing in my discount Alexander McQueen while Chelsea's world collapsed around her. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who has nothing to prove. And I proved that the moment I walked away. Subscribe if this story resonates with you.